Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Dr. Misha Kogan's podcast. Today, we're going to start exploring our age-wise principles. And for past couple of months, I've been thinking, well, what should we talk about first? Because, if you look about getting healthy in older years or age-wise, as I describe it, there's so many things: the diet, the exercise, cognitive training, and having good medical team, and all those things are really important. But I actually decided to concentrate first on emotional connection, supportive environment, and the meaningful activities and meaning in life. And first, guests on our podcasts are Alice DeSoma and Dr. Hans Juttner. Did I say this right?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Good. And their story, they can tell us their story, and their story was just so warming for my heart, and I felt so profound. I do want to thank. They'll tell us about how they came to learn about what I do in a second, and I'm very grateful to Alona, our mutual photographer, who introduced us, for finding this wonderful people. So Alice and Hans, thank you and welcome to the podcast. Tell our listeners a little bit about what happened to you two. You didn't know about each other 10 years ago, correct?
Oh, correct.
So tell us, I mean, you're clearly in love, and we want to know your story.
You want to know our story? Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness. So that's a long one.
Well, and fit this all in 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we met at the facility here. It's 5-star facility. And I came here and I brought a husband, and he was very ill, and he since has passed away.
Mhm.
And I was really devastated. And so was Dr. Jettner's wife had passed away, and he was devastated. So we found one another. I found him sitting down at a table, and a woman introduced us. And I said to myself, well, he's very harsh. He's very harsh. But there must be something more to him. If there's something more to everyone. I was a volunteer for all my life. I've been a microbiologist, and I had to give that up because of my son's handicap, and I spent my life with him. So I volunteered, and I did all kinds of garden club, and I became the president of the New York State, and I traveled all over the United States and South America, and I enjoyed it. So that was how I started. But I came here to 5-star, and I saw Dr. Juttner, and I said, well, there must be something much to him. There's a little more to him than I know of, I can see. So I got to know him, and I read his book, and he's a great walker, and I would call it a walker. He goes up and down mountains, but a walker is what he really is. And I said, okay, I took him on. And I found out that he was very, very, all behind his harshness, he is a very sweet and loving person. And I liked him. And my husband, I think my first husband sort of led me to him, because he said, Alice, I'm tired of you working so hard, taking care of me. And I think that you deserve to have a good time. So I said, that's a good idea. And I did that, exactly that. And he is really a wonderful man. And I really love him. And he's very sweet and kind. He's a little harsh, a little rough around the edges. More than that.
Alice, before we give Dr. Juttner time to talk, what struck me when you said one thing is, so when your husband was transitioning, you talk about this very lightly now. So I'm assuming it was a difficult time.
Oh, it was 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but so is finding Hans helped you with kind of letting go and grieving and getting into a better place?
Yes, it has. It has
Mhm.
stopped me from, I don't feel any guilt. I talk to my husband all the time and I
Mhm.
tell him what I'm doing. And I say, I'm doing this and that. And then the other thing, Vinny, I'm going to a concert, I'm going to a play. That's wonderful. And I don't feel guilt at all because I was married 60 years and I swore that I would take care of him to his dying day. And I loved him and I had two children and I took care of him. So that was what I felt. Oh, I
All right,
never felt guilty.
let's hold on to word love. We'll come back to it, I promise.
Okay.
Hans, Dr. Chutner, tell our listeners a little bit about your story. You have a fascinating story. You were a physician, you wrote a book. Just a little bit so that we get a flavor of what were you doing earlier in life.
Yeah, I came out of Germany after, at the age of 16, as the oldest of four children. I lost my father in an automobile accident. So at that early age in high school, I was, of course, now exploring myself, what would I do with the rest of my life? And I read Albert Schweitzer's Out of My Life and Thought, his autobiography, and it really worked like a catalyst, really finding my way. I said, I want to become a physician. So while I was at the medical school here in Germany, it was the last trip of Albert Schweitzer to his hometown in Alsace-Lorraine. And I went onto my scooter and drove at the age of 23 right across the Rhine into France and rang the bell at his home. And
How long was that ride?
that ride was just over one day. You see, I
Wow,
was
just over one day.
yeah, it was in Tübingen, so in Baden-Württemberg here in southern Germany, and just crossing the Rhine into France. And there's Alsace-Lorraine, which went during history, of course, back and forth between Germany and France. But of course, it was France. And, of course, the house of Albert Schweitzer was very known. And, I really made it all the way up to him. And I had the naive idea to just work, let's say 2-3 months during the semester vacation, doing my medical studies in his hospital in Africa. So he really advised me to really finish medical school and then approach. After finishing medical school in Germany, I went to Africa, to Gabon, to West Equatorial Africa, here, his missionary hospital in the jungle.
So you actually worked with him. You worked with Schweitzer.
For 2 years, yes, for close
Amazing.
to 2 years.
If let me pause you for a second. So if any of our listeners don't know who Albert Schweitzer is, they need to run to the Google, type it in and look it up, because he was an amazing doctor. And I think a lot of us who practice any kind of social medicine or any medicine that is for all people, I think would know the legacy that he left. So thank you. And I did not know that. That's fascinating.
After, it was short of 2 years, about 18, 19 months in Africa. And this was counted by the German medical authorities as internship.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started the experimental part of my thesis about leprosy and tuberculosis in Africa, and got my dissertation then completed in Germany and got the MD degree in Germany. Then it was really, I hadn't decided on a specialty. and but for us in Germany, the Mayo Clinic here in Rochester, Minnesota is really the mecca, the ultimate in education and so on. So I wanted to really spend my time at the Mayo Clinic. So I left Germany, and I then spent about 5 years in Rochester, Minnesota, to get my specialty degree as a diagnostic radiologist, American board certified and so on. And from there on, I spent 50 years of my professional career in the United States, in California, and then in Pennsylvania and so on, really being here on both sides of the American continent. And when my wife died about 5 years ago, I was in Wisconsin, and we were in a big house I had on Lake Michigan, but it was meant, of course, as our retirement home. And all of a sudden, I mean, she ended up with Alzheimer's disease. I lost her. And in 2017, 16, 17, I was ready to sell the house. Yeah, it took me about 3 years to sell the house in Wisconsin. And then I wanted to be at the East Coast, because with one foot, I felt I was often in the old country. Since I had worked in Lambarene, of course, it was a requirement when I met Albert Schweitzer. He says, that's great when you can come to the hospital for an extended period of time, because the long journey here from Germany, for 2 months in the hospital, neither you nor the hospital profits of it. You should really come after you're done with medical school. But one thing, you have to speak French, and not just baby French out of high school. So I spent about a year in Lausanne, in the French part of Switzerland, to really upgrade here my French. So I was now fluent in 2 languages, 2 other languages here, English and French. And so after we retired, here my wife and I took a place in Montpellier in southern France, an apartment, running away from the Arctic temperatures on Lake Michigan in the winter with minus 20 degrees for several weeks. So we were snowbirds leaving like other people to Florida and California. I left for Montpellier for southern France. And that's what I did the last 10 plus years, since I'm retired. I retired around.
So how did you end up with Alice?
Yeah, no, with Alice, it was really coming here into the senior home. And one day she had been voted to be the chairperson for the welcoming committee for the new residents. So there was once a month a big dinner for all the new residents, and she was leading the dinner, and we all presented ourselves and so on. So I really, really that first meeting triggered in me, my goodness, there is a woman, I would like to get to know better. And it is something really not only visually, it's emotionally, you feel, oh, she is a great woman, the way she conducted it, and let us speak, humble or modest in the background, and really knowing what to say or not to say.
So you had this love at first sight the moment you saw her. Am I hearing this right?
Correct. Yeah, right. For me, it was clear, actually. After the meeting, I stepped up to her and I said, we have to get to know each other. But that's more or less, it stopped there. It took me several weeks to work myself through this. to really invite her to go out with her for a nice restaurant.
Alice, did you have the same feeling, or you were like, oh my God, who's this guy?
Well, let me say, I was a little leery
Uh-huh.
because he was coming on. He was, okay, that was fine. He wanted to meet, but he never came back. He didn't come back. And I certainly forgot about him. I didn't pursue him. I really wasn't looking for anyone. And, but he was sweet. He was nice. He had attributes that I enjoyed, kindness, and he was very, very nice, very kind. Above his rough edges, because he does have rough edges, he can be very, very, very rough at times and very harsh. But that did not matter. I said, there must be something underneath him. There must be something underneath that.
Yeah, I can't stop smiling, because when it's not a reflection, it's just an enjoyable conversation. Hans, when you were talking about your medical career, you were like, you were very serious. You were like
very serious.
And then we got into talk about this, and then you're all smiling, lighting up, and shining. So okay, so you guys met, took a couple of weeks to figure things out. Finally, Hans invited. Where'd you go? What restaurant did you go to?
Oh gosh, I forget.
Yeah. I tell you, I found out that Alice likes French restaurants, and yes, so I really went into Google, and we went to one was Matisse, and one was Le Chat Noir, or quelque chose comme ça, something like that. But to some French restaurants, and she likes to eat mussels and oysters and
all the things that he doesn't care for.
That's what true love is, right? You're asking the loved one out to a place you don't care about just so that they can enjoy it. I love it. All right, so tell us about the photography point. So the way I came to hear about you is from our mutual photographer, and I want you to tell us a little bit about why you selected her and sort of what happened there. So why did you decide to do this advanced, not cheap, by the way, photo shoot?
I think I was the motor behind it. I really had the idea, I mean, just really feeling as a culmination, and especially documenting it. I know, you have to know, as a radiologist, of course, I don't take only photos of stomach ulcers and do mammograms, but I also, with all my hiking, into Nepal and into the Alps, I combined it with photography. So especially, with when I had publications here out of my life, I published a book which deals with Nepal and my retirement. So,
and what's the name of the book?
The name of the book is A Road into Retirement: Building a School in Nepal. And it shows more or less my last 20 years during retirement, between the age of 60 and 80. And it's full of photos, as well as my last book, which came out only in Germany up to now, which is basically my diary I kept during the time in the Albert Schweitzer Hospital. But again, it is full of photography. And I have a big photo collection. So especially it was triggered when I was with Albert Schweitzer, because I sensed the importance of.
So photography became a hobby even before you retired, correct?
Oh, yes, very much so. From the days of my time in the jungle.
But when you retired, it almost became like a even bigger
Correct.
vacation.
Hobby. Yes, right. Oh, yes.
I think I want to mention something here for our listeners. So, there's this whole concept of blue zones, and in blue zones, one of the key elements, in addition to just a great lifestyle, good diet, moving a lot, having strong communal support, which we'll cover in a subsequent podcast. But there's this one aspect of finding something that you're really passionate about. And in some parts of the world, in Costa Rica, for example, in Nicoya, they actually have a term for that. So there's an actual word for finding that meaningful activity. So you took something you already had,
Yes.
in essence, a professional vacation. Well, okay, I mean, it's photographing, not X-raying, photographing for laymen like myself in that sense, and for our listeners, it's probably relatively similar. Of course, technically, I'm sure very different. And so then you took that and you transformed that into something that you could continue doing even after the retirement. So I just want to highlight how important that is. But okay, we kind of diverted a little bit. So let's go back to what happened after the restaurant.
Yeah, and after the restaurant, I more and more went up 2 floors into her apartment, and we lived together. So really, so we are in the same building, just on different floors. And I really spent the whole 24 hours, the whole week, the whole month with her. And from there on, we got closer and closer.
So one thing I will probably ask you that when your photographs come out, maybe we can select 1 or 2 and then incorporate it with this video, with this recording, so that our listeners can see you guys in a professional photo shoot. So, well, how is the relationship now? How long you've been together already?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say, wait a minute. No, yeah, we don't have a specific date, but I would say somewhere in August, September.
Oh, yeah.
Or even before
Even
that.
before then.
Yeah, before.
Even before then. Oh,
Yeah,
my.
yeah, actually, right. I would say, yeah, July then, August, July.
Yeah.
So
at
it's like
least
6 months, more than 6 months.
Yes, yes.
more than 6 months.
And how's it going?
Yeah, very, very
We're
good.
getting to know one another. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, right. And of course, there are, you get to know each other. I get to know her. So
I get to know him.
Yeah. And we are working together, if it is in the kitchen or in our planning for entertainment. Or she, of course, has certain aspects of her life here, which has to do with the administration and with the committee. You speak about the consultation with the residential council here.
Oh, that's very simple. After college and after microbiology and all of that, doing this is a very easy job.
No, but Alice, but I do want to point out that you're still engaged. So you're using the skills that you've mastered during your working life into something that you can now do. And you're talking about it smiling. So I'm assuming you actually like doing that.
I gave up garden club, and I had been in garden club and the administration of garden club nationally and internationally. I've done that for 50 years. And so I had to give that up, completely give it up when my husband became ill. And so that was now it's five and a half years ago. So that's been a long time. I had to give up everything, and I gave it up for him, because I promised that I would do that, and I did, and I was married 60 years.
Let's go back to the question I asked you to hold off that word love there. This is not your first serious relationship in life. This is not your first love. How does it compare to others? I mean, I know it's a hard question, and it's not a fair question, but I want to ask it.
I really haven't had any lovers other than my husband. And Hans is the next just the next
Okay,
man.
so okay, so
I'm only on
okay, you're only on your second one.
I'm only
Okay.
on my second, and that's where I'm stopping. That's where I'm stopping.
Hansen, for you?
Yeah, no, I had really, let's say, many or several relationships, but they were more really of short duration and falling in love with a person, and then it fades away and you lose the contact and or moving and so on. So my life really with and steady connection with a woman was my wife for 44 years,
Mhm.
an American out of Iowa and also a physician. So there was nothing besides that except, running wild after some other, persons at times or so, but it doesn't compare, to really a marriage or what I feel now. It is much more comprehensive and in a certain way complete, unison, intellectually, emotionally, and being really a companion and helping her or she helps me. It's really very intense and very integrated in itself.
So you two lucky, right? I mean, let's be a little realistic for a second, because I'm sure there are listeners like, these two, they're just like super lucky. That doesn't happen often. Da, 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 da. So it's true. I mean, statistically speaking, there are a lot more women at Alice's age than Hans's, because just men die younger and there's a mismatch. So yeah, I mean, you two lucky in the sense that you found yourself and it's so mutual. But what advice would you give to people who are not necessarily as lucky as you are, and they are, they're not finding the partner? Would you suggest they go out and look for partners? Just any thoughts?
Oh, my goodness gracious, that's a hard one.
I know it is. I'm sorry, but
Very,
I think it's an important one, because I think there's always a fear in all of us that, oh, I want to hold on to something because I'm not going to get anything else after. And I think your experience is different. Your experience is, you both had a relationship for decades, and most people, when that relationship ends, stay single, and they kind of, well, I don't want to speak for most people, and I haven't been there, so I don't know how that is, but that's not commonly what you have is not common, and I want to highlight that. And I want you to share that inner wisdom of, you got this. Everybody should. That's how I feel. How would they get there?
You have to, first of all, you have to have a sense of humor. You have to always have a sense of humor, and I've had that. You have to be very considerate of the other person, and you have to stand back. I like to stand back and look at people and see what makes them tick. I like people, and I like to see what makes them tick. All right. So I'm very compassionate, and I will take your faults, and I hope you take my faults, and you will stand them. You will appreciate my faults, and I can't help it, and he can't help his faults. So you're very compassionate to one another. And that's really the whole crux of the matter. And that's how you maintain a good marriage, is by being considerate of the other person, respectful, and consider the other person's feelings. And I always did that. I did that with my husband, and I'm doing that with Hans. So that's, you have to be
That's great.
of another person.
I think that's a very critical statement, I think, for not just for somebody looking, but for every couple and every relationship out there. Hans, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, on my end, I must say, first of all, there's the attraction, and for the man, it starts out, yeah, visually and then emotionally. And in my case, I must say, there were so many aspects in Alice, not just at the first encounter or over the next period after that, that I felt very really attracted and steady in my approach towards her. And the rest is really you know, the beauty of life we both can enjoy together, and where both of us are triggered, not only, you know, when we go to beautiful entertainment here with Bocelli or with Shen Yun, the Chinese classical dance we saw last night, you know, how we get excited about it and are on the same wavelengths. That's I feel is very important, you know. And of course, where I try around her to help her here or there what she's doing, that we are both doing things together, if it's in the kitchen or if it's shopping or, you know, going out and so on.
Let's touch upon difficult topic, because I think in the back of our minds, we're all thinking about it. You know, we're here very temporarily. And, you know, your time is probably shorter than mine, although, I mean, who knows, right? I may walk out and get hit by a car. But point being is, you know what I'm trying to say, right? So your timing is shorter, and you must, in the back of your minds, think about this question, you know, how much time you have. How do you live with this? And how do you kind of just frame it to each other? And you know, I don't want to speak for you or even hypothesize, but what keeps that momentum going? And despite the fact that I'm sure you're thinking about it.
Well, we don't really, don't dwell on it. You don't dwell on it.
You don't dwell on that.
So you don't dwell on it. And first of all, I can't say that I'm a very religious person. I'm not a very religious person. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. Mm-hmm. And I believe that he has a purpose for me to be here. And the purpose is for me to, I smile all the time. I've always smiled all the time. Everybody notices that and everybody sees it, and I make everybody happy. So they are pleased to see me. But that's always been my life. I've been a happy child, and I've been a smiling child. I can't force that upon anyone else. No, but I have it for myself. And, you know, I don't dwell on it, and he doesn't dwell on it. He thinks he's going to live forever. He thinks he's going to live forever. He's going, and I think I'm not going to live forever. I'm hoping that I live for a long time, but I know that realistically, I'm not going to live forever. And I hope I live into my 90s, well into my 90s. I'm, you know, 84, and I'm hoping that I live in my 90s. So that's about it. I don't dwell on it.
Yeah, on my side, yeah, I joke about turning my number around, you know, 85, I'm 58. And I must say, of course, when I now take off for Europe, you know, I have about 11 different, you know, contacts which I made where I will travel in these 2 months. Besides seeing my 2 brothers, one coming from England to Germany and one living in Germany. And I'm very active and very project-oriented and very aware of my age. But, you know, my goal list is packed, you know, with projects, you know, I want to tackle. And, you know, so I feel at this moment, the same way when you asked about the photography, how did it come about? I liked this moment with her, which I said, it has to be documented. Since I did so much in photography, you know, I said, oh my goodness, you know, I have to find a photographer. I don't want just to take a selfie of her, but I want it more official and so on, or more formal. And therefore, I liked our session very much with Aljona and what she had done and looking at her website and so on.
So how did you find her? You just Googled her?
Yeah, exactly. I Googled
her. So for our listeners, Aljona Vogelmann is a professional photographer who does pretty advanced, absolutely stunning individual photography, but also couples. And it's just so happened, and Alice, and when you and Hans were doing, you know, the work with Aljona, and then my wife Angela and I were doing it at the same time. So,
nice.
So yeah, so we're a little younger. So, but we still,
Angela
wanted to capture the sort of this moment of relationship in a certain way. So, what did you want to capture in this? Like, what kind of well, in our situation, Angela was the driver for the photo shoot. I was just like dragged into it. I must admit, I'm not a big fan of spending a lot of time on photography. I'm much rather talking to people like we're doing it now. But it sounds like, Hans, you were the driver, right? To get the photo shoot going. And what did you want to capture with it?
Yeah, I really wanted to capture the beauty of our relationship, you know, her facial expression and us being really alive. I mean, here, Aljona did a great job to trigger us or to loosen us up, to really capture.
She does that. She absolutely does it. Did she make you, wait, did she make you drink champagne? Did she?
Yours.
Did she make you drink champagne?
No, we didn't do that. We did not do that.
I guess it was for me. I had to get loosened up. That's anyway. All right. I'm not going to give away trade secrets. Okay. Amazing. So you're both so vibrant and full of energy. Do you think that when you came together, that vibrancy and energy changed?
No, it didn't change. I've always been like this. I've been on my feet all the time. I've always been on my feet. I've always been running. I had a husband who was very, very nice, and I could have gone to medical school and all of that after I had the handicapped child. But after that, I stayed home. Okay. No, I didn't change at all. I was always like this.
For me, it really catapulted me into what we have in mind right now. I mean, first of all, writing to 11 persons there in Germany and say, you know, I want to visit you, and really having a big program for those 2 months. And then when we come back, of course, also looking into, you know, where will be our final domicile here in the area at large, but we will move out of this place.
So wait a second. So you want to move out of the current facility you're in? Why?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I was brought here by my son and I had no recourse. My husband was very ill and I did not know that people were locked in their rooms because of the virus. When they came out, everybody, not everybody, I'm exaggerating, they were in wheelchairs, they had walkers, and I said, wow, I'm in the wrong place. This is not for me. But I was here with my husband, and so.
Well, it turned out to be very right place, just for a brief period of time, right? Yeah, we have to wrap up. Usually I do this in like 15, 20 minutes, but I'm just enjoying talking to you so much. We went way over that, but whatever.
Oh, well, I'm enjoying talking to you.
So, well, so you have all these projects, you're going to travel, you're going to do, tell us one thing that you're most excited about in an upcoming weeks and months.
Oh, my gosh.
You first.
Oh,
Yeah, for me, no,
all right, you go first.
yeah. For me, it's really,
I let him go first.
no, for me, there's a German in me probably. For me, it is really introducing Alice to my friends and my family. And my family, this is a brother in Germany and a brother who comes from England over to Germany. So really, I'm very proud and very alive, and I enjoy the moment, in terms of mindfulness, living in the present moment. So this is for me a highlight. It's like a honeymoon trip I do now.
Okay, and I am very excited just for going and meeting his family. That is like a big thrill. I have no idea what they're like. I see pictures of them. They're all taller than he, and he's very tall. And I'm looking forward to it. And I've been to Europe and I've been to France before. And my mother's name is Dufour.
Uh-huh.
Dufour, and my son is named after her, Dufour. So I have that connection there, and I'm happy to go, and I want to see it again. I'll go again. Okay, and
So I'm wishing you guys that Alice, when you get there, I have a feeling that just like Hans, they're all kind of serious. But you're gonna smile like this, and they're all just they're gonna melt.
They're gonna melt.
All right, I'll have to have you guys back in due time. I love talking to you, and maybe in a couple of years when you're gonna have a
really old.
Well, no, that's not what I meant. No, but I think if I feel this right and you have a good time together, I hope more rather than less. I just think that your story is such a valuable lesson for all of us, that no matter what life throws at us, and and sometimes it's hard. The losses are inevitable and they're continuous, but finding this amazing light and bringing it together and joining the hearts and bodies and souls like this, and continuing no matter what, not only continue together, but still doing things you love, and not dwelling on hard things, and just keep going with this lightness of heart. I don't see this every day. And in my work line, I see a lot of people just I take care of people, right? And I don't see this often. And I just, when Aliona told me about you, I was like, I got to meet these people, because I just have to do so. And I feel like you have so much to give to others just by being there and living and sharing, that I definitely want you to come back and share more.
Well, we've had a lovely time. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, I enjoyed this very much. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, pleasure is mine. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is Dr. Misha Kogan, Alice de Soma, and Hans Chotner. And today we were talking about just living life, no matter what age is, and finding love, no matter what age is.